I was saying, y'all, with Rico from StreetScores, and I'm sorry I'm reporting a lot of this late. You know what I'm saying? It's the next morning, 9 a.m. But a lot of interesting news came out for the Commanders yesterday, man. First of all, did we potentially get a Terry McLaurin medical diagnosis that was good? I mean, we've been on a roller coaster ride. We're going to dive into all of that as far as what his injury actually is and how long he'll be out. Also, we have some positive build news. We're going to take a look at the injury report, but there's some conflicting reports to go against that injury report and why you should be optimistic about Bill's chances of playing against the Falcons and playing well. And then also we have some Jayden Daniels updates, and I love the fact that we have clips of Jayden Daniels from Thursday's practice, and it looks better than what he looked like in Wednesday's clips that I showed y'all on Thursday or Wednesday night or whatever. So we're gonna dive into all of that and more. We also have some coaching points that Joey Jr. and Cliff Kingsbury brought up as far as like Chris Paul starting over Brandon Coleman, all kinds of stuff like that. But before we get into everything, make sure you still follow that like button, still follow the subscription button, and still follow the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned to all of the content. Shouts out to my Watch to the End gang, man. WTTG in the building, man. Shouts out to my late night crew. This is my fault. You know what I'm saying? I'm typically coming out with my videos late night, but I set my alarm and then my alarm, my body said, nah, man, just go ahead and sit this one out. You know what I'm saying? But now I'm here. 9 a.m. unfamiliar territory for me, you know, a time to be awake, but I'm here. Hey, we getting this video out there. Again, I'm sorry for being late. Let's go ahead and dive into the video right now, man. Let's get it. Adam. All right, so did we potentially get some good Terry McLaurin news? Because as of yesterday at 7:45 p.m., Nikki Javala tweeted that Commanders wide receiver Terry McLaurin's quad injury is unlikely to require surgery, per sources. That is big news, bro. That is big news. But at the same time, I'm wondering, like, why were we even considering this? You know what I'm saying? Like, how do we get to the point where if it doesn't require surgery, what made y'all think it did? You know what I'm saying? So maybe it isn't as bad as what we thought, but maybe it's also not as good as we hope. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it's somewhere in the middle, because we've been bouncing around with a lot of different injury estimations here. He's been seeing all these different doctors for different potential results and different feedback on things like that. I'm just curious to know, even though it doesn't require surgery, and again, that's great news, but why did we even think it may have needed that in the first place? You know what I'm saying? And then even going from there, the guys from NFL Network at 7:38 p.m. reported and did like a whole thing on NFL Network on television. Commanders wide receiver Terry McLaurin's quad will not require surgery after McLaurin sought multiple medical opinions this week. Still not looking good for Sunday versus the Falcons, but at least no surgery at this point. And hey, if he has to miss the Falcons game, I'm fine with that, because some of the things that we were hearing, and I told y'all this in my last video, we were hearing like, hey, this could potentially take him out for 3 months. You know what I'm saying? And again, I showed y'all clips of him immediately after the game, or even like during the game. When Luke McCaffrey scored his touchdown, Terry McLaurin jogged to get the ball. There was no limp. It looked like you would have never known he even had any sort of quad or any injury at all until they told us. Like, he jogged. I showed you the clip, him jogging to get Luke McCaffrey's first career touchdown ball, and he jogged regular, extra regular, overly regular, like looking like no limp. And then after the game, when the team is walking off, I showed y'all that clip as well. He's walking off extra smooth. Again, would have never thought he had an injury if they never reported it. And the fact that that NFL Network is reporting still not looking good for the Falcons game, well, if he would have missed 3 months, that would be assumed. So the fact that they're even talking about the fact that, man, yeah, it doesn't look good for the Falcons game, that's pretty good news, because it sounds like there's even like the slightest chance he could play, which means his injury is not that long term, and maybe we could possibly even have him back for that Chargers game next weekend. So, hey, man, potentially all good Terry McLaurin news all around. I mean, of course, it's not like the best news. Terry McLaurin having to miss a game for the first time in like 4 seasons, of course, that's not like good, the best of news possible, but this is positive as it could be when you're threatened with the fact that he may have to miss 3 months. I mean, we may have not have seen Terry McLaurin until late November, early December, with the way that the diagnosis was coming out on Wednesday, so that was scary. And then shouts out to Deuce Red Zone. I mean, he brought up a good point. He said, hold up. So Terry McLaurin has gone from quad to sports hernia to hip flexor back to quad. Just say we don't know yet. And I don't know what's going on, man. I'm here to just report to y'all what I'm finding out as soon as I find it out. I don't exactly know. I'm not a doctor. I can't tell you. But just to let you know, man, hip flexor timeline, if it's a grade 1, that's 1 to 3 weeks. So that's what we're hoping for. We're hoping, and again, that's not the best news, but that's the best possible news we can get out of this situation where all it is a grade 1. If it really is a hip flexor, it is a grade 1 for Terry McLaurin. That could have him out for 1 to 3 weeks. So basically, worst case scenario, he's back for that Chicago Bears game, or maybe even like the worst case scenario, he's back for the Dallas Cowboys game on October 19th. But maybe he's even back as soon as next week against the Chargers, like I said. If it's a grade 2, that could be 4 to 8 weeks. Now, that could really hurt us, bro. 4 to 8 weeks is insane, man. That would be best case scenario, Seattle Seahawks on November 2nd, or we don't really get them until after the bye week when we play the Denver Broncos on my birthday, November 30th. And then there's also a grade 3 where it's a complete tear, and that could require surgery that takes him out for 6 to 12 months. Basically, see you next season. See you 2026, Terry McLaurin. I highly doubt it's that last one. I'm just hoping that it's at least the first one, though. I think it's more likely that it's the first one, and I hope it's that as well. And I think the last one is the least likely. I mean, again, seeing that guy jog the way he jogged like nothing was wrong at all, I highly doubt it's a grade 3 tear or any type of situation like that out 6 to 12 months. Again, now we're just hoping that it's a 1 to 3 week rather than a 4 to 8. But again, from the way that people are talking about it so far, it sounded more like a 1 to 3 week. Of course, I'm going to have y'all updated later on. Now, today, for real, I'm going to make sure I pull up and let y'all know at some point this evening / early tonight, not even late night like I typically do. I'm going to try to have it by tonight, all of the updates to come out from today's final practice report for the Commanders and Falcons, where it's going to let you know who's questionable, who's out, and stuff like that. So stay tuned. And now moving on to Jayden Daniels. And with him, we're here to watch some clips as to how he looks better on Thursday than he did on Wednesday, because I'm going to go ahead and let you know now, before we even look at the injury report later on in this video, he was listed as limited again. He was do not participate last week Wednesday, did not participate on last week Thursday, then he was limited on Friday right before the Raiders game. That's what had me thinking that maybe he will play, but he didn't. Then he was limited on Wednesday, and he was limited again yesterday on Thursday. But at the same time, his clips from Thursday look different from his clips on Wednesday. So the clips that I gave y'all late night, Wednesday night going into Thursday morning, I'm telling you right now, they look different than what he looked like from yesterday, which has me even more optimistic that he will play against the Falcons. Let's dive into the clips. Like this one right here. You have News 4 Sports uploaded by JP Finley right here. He looks pretty good to me, man. He's doing his little shuffle and stuff. Even when he did that on Wednesday and I showed you the clips, it didn't look this smooth. Like, it didn't look like he ever like planted off of his leg or anything like that. He looks definitely better in these clips than he looked in that one. The ball looks more accurate and stuff like that. I don't see much of a limp. Now, of course, it doesn't necessarily look like 100% comfortable, but my point is there is definitely an improvement from how he looked in Wednesday's practice, and that's literally just a 24-hour difference, and he already looks that much better. So that has me even more encouraged about how is he going to look another 24 hours later going into Friday. Now, looking at this next clip, this was uploaded by John Kahn. Here's Jayden Daniels once again. And I mean, in the beginning, he's kind of just standing around with Dan Quinn and stuff like that. But then you'll see as he gets the ball, he's going to start doing some quarterback stuff, and it looks smoother than Wednesday. It looks smoother. You know what I'm saying? Then a couple of days ago, what he did yesterday, I'm telling you, looks a little bit better. That was just a quick clip, real quick, just to see that his throwing motion and everything like that doesn't look affected by his leg much at all. Then this next clip, uploaded by John Kahn right here, and this is him going through his bag drill, and it looks better than Wednesday as well. Again, it doesn't necessarily look like 100%, but it still looks better than what it looked like on Wednesday, because Wednesday, it was like, okay, I mean, yeah, you maybe could play, but it doesn't look like you can even, like, plant on the leg that's hurt and actually like deliver a deep ball accurately. Or it looks like, you know, if you need to make a certain cut while you're running with the ball, it doesn't look like he'd be able to do that at all. Now, the clips that you're seeing from Thursday, it actually looks like he probably can. shouts out to Grant Paulson too, while quote tweeting this clip that John Keim uploaded. He said Jayden Daniels is moving impressively well, but you can see the difference from his normal max capacity mobility when he backpedals, when he's doing the bags. And that's a good point. When he's backpedaling, that's the part that doesn't look 100% Jayden Daniels. But again, it at least looks better than Wednesday Jayden Daniels. And I'm going to take that as a very positive angle on this. Again, if he looks that much better going from Wednesday to Thursday, I'm pretty sure going from Thursday to Friday, he's going to look better. And if he's a full participant in practice today, which again, I'll update y'all on when it comes out. If he's a full participant today, he's playing Sunday. But even if he's limited, the way he looked better going from Wednesday to Thursday, he looks that same way going from Thursday to Friday. Imagine how much better he'll feel after going from Friday to Sunday. You know what I'm saying? So I think Jayden Daniels will end up playing, but we'll have to see. But now, before we dive into the rest of the injury report, and I have to update y'all on Bill and everything, because he's missed practice now for 2 days straight. Before we get there, man, Washington football is better than ever, man. And we potentially have our starting quarterback back in Jayden Daniels, which means now you have a chance to 1,000 times your cash on daily fantasy football. The Washington Commanders football players, man, we have so many exciting guys. I mean, you know, back in like years ago when our defense was great, we didn't have an offense. And it always seemed like once we finally got a decent offense, we didn't have a defense. Now it feels like we have the potential to have both. So you can pick on stats for Commanders players like touchdown, passing yards, receiving yards, fantasy points, and more for up to 1,000 times your payout on Sleeper. And the reason I'm even bringing up defense, Dorrance Armstrong has a sack in every single game this season, and with how the Falcons are on to their third string right tackle, this is going to arguably be one of the worst defensive lines we play all season. Hey, man, I'm even looking at that Dorrance Armstrong sack over and under. Hey, man, I mean, 4 in a row, why not? You know what I'm saying? If anything, this will be the game that he even goes for 2. So it's not just the offense, it's defensive players as well. And if you're right on your picks, you can win big money on it. You can use promo code SCORE, that's SCORE, and you'll get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Or you can even click the link at the top of the description of this video and every video on live stream I'm doing all season. Now, just to warn y'all, I'm not live streaming this upcoming Falcons game because I'll be at the Falcons game. And so I'll be live streaming pretty much every other game other than that one. And of course, it's not just the Commanders in the NFL. NBA is about to come back. I think NBA preseason starts October 2nd. The NBA is about to be back. So you have the NBA, you have MLB, NHL, college football. My Georgia Dogs about to whip up on those, them Alabama Crimson Tide soon, and college basketball, and even the WNBA, all on Sleeper. Now let's take a look at some picks that we could get into. Now I'm gonna let you know right now, I'm really excited about this 6 leg that I have going for Sunday. And again, the earlier you get on, the better before the lines start to update, and so it's better earlier than later for sure. And I love my Georgia dog Brock Bowers, but he does not score touchdowns, man. He just doesn't. Even first of all, he doesn't have a touchdown this year, and even last year he only scored 1 touchdown in 5 games all season. This is the best tight end in football. He just doesn't score touchdowns. And I feel like you can blame the quarterback situation. Against us, he almost had one, but Will Harris knocked it out of his hands. And Brock Bowers just does not score touchdowns. So that's why I went under there. Then you have Myles Garrett sack. Come on, bro. Myles Garrett, a sack. He can't get one of those against Detroit, against Jared Goff with he's fairly mobile, but not that mobile, bro. And he's had at least half a sack every game this season. Then you have Josh Jacobs. This guy has only not scored a touchdown in 1 game in the last 17 games that he's played, bro, because he was almost about to break an NFL record for most consecutive games with a touchdown. Then somehow he didn't get one against the Cleveland Browns. But I mean, again, the first 2 games he clearly had one against us and the Detroit Lions that he played the week before that. And then again, if you go back to 2024, he was on a super streak where he just kept scoring touchdown, no matter how he had to get it. Even in 1 game where he didn't have a rushing touchdown, he had a receiving one right here against the Houston Texans. And that was basically the start of a streak where, this guy you just couldn't stop him from at least scoring 1 touchdown. Then you have Chris Boswell outside of 1 game against the New England Patriots last week where he only scored 3 kicker points. He scored 10-9. I think he can get over 6.5. Then Bijan Robinson Come on now. Now he's gone 2 weeks without a touchdown, and you think we're gonna be the ones that don't allow him to get one back up on the board? And again, this is anytime touchdown, so this could be rushing, this could be receiving, anything, man. And then James Cook, my Georgia dog, you know what I'm saying? You know, it's not my fault that there are 2 Georgia dogs on here right here. I mean, granted, I'm playing against one of them, but James Cook I'm playing for. He's good for at least a touchdown, whether it be through the air or through the ground. He's good for a touchdown, man. So this is the 6 leg where you can turn 20 into 267. And again, shouts out to Sleeper, promo code SCORE, that's SCORE. Shouts out to Sleeper, man. Now let's get back to this video. Now let's dive into this full-blown injury report, starting with the Washington Commanders. As you can clearly see that Bill has not participated in a practice so far this week. We'll see later on today if he participates in practice on Friday. We'll see. But so far, of course, when you're looking at the injury report, it's not looking good. But at the same time, Bill seems to be okay, and I'm emphasizing the word seems because that's whether you trust the reporters that are talking about his injury the past couple of days. Because from Wednesday night, there were several reports that basically downplayed his injury. Nikki Javala said at 7:32 p.m. September 24th, Wednesday night, Ja'Cory Bill Krosky-Merritt's knee injury is not considered serious per source. Wouldn't be surprised if he practices tomorrow. Now, granted, that was Wednesday night. He did not practice tomorrow as in Thursday. But again, there are reports saying that it's not serious. You even have Jeremy Fowler digging into our organization at 6:34 p.m. on Wednesday night, saying Commanders running back Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, who did not practice Wednesday with knee injury, was a little sore after the game Monday, but has felt better since then per source. The hope is that the rest is precautionary. So we'll see how that goes. And even John Com quote tweeted and said, not considered to be anything serious at all from what he's hearing. Watch his run Sunday. He should be sore because he runs with a violent style. So again, everybody from across the board is reporting that, hey, this should be precautionary. We'll see. And then Nikki Javala, even at the beginning of yesterday's practice at like 1:14 p.m., before like they even really get into practice, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt with the knee was out there with pads and helmet on during the stretch period. He was wearing a sleeve on his left leg, so that's a little different. And then she said that she pointed out, like, we'll see how they list them. And of course, now hindsight 2020, knowing how they listed him as did not participate. Even though he had helmet and pads fully on, he did not participate in the practice. And Chris Russell brings up a good point that it's weird that Bill did not practice when he was at least dressed to practice and out there at the beginning. What changed? So maybe that is bad news, but I don't know. And also, John Com pointed out the fact that when Joe Wood Jr. was talking about Bobby Wagner and his free rush pressure that he had against the Raiders, Joe Wood Jr. pointed out the fact that the running back Genty should have picked him up but carried out the play fake. By comparison, Krosky-Merritt in that same game picked up one blitz when he broke off the play action fake because he saw the blitz coming, which allowed Mariota to complete a 9-yard pass. So basically, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt is a better and smarter pass protector than Ashton Genty already is. That's a first-round pick versus a 7th-round pick. And Cliff Kingsbury, the main reason I'm bringing this up is that Cliff Kingsbury called out Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, and the reason that he wasn't getting as many carries as a lot of us felt like he should be getting in games, especially that Green Bay Packers game. Cliff Kingsbury said he needs to be better away from the ball. When you don't have the ball in your hands, how are you contributing? What is your pass protection? What are your routes being run? And the fact that he's already improved that way significantly shows that he deserves to get the ball more and more. He needs to be on the field more and more. You need to trust him more and more moving forward. So I like the fact that Cliff Kingsbury basically called him out on that in a media press conference last week, and we're already seeing the results the immediate next game, where he's improving as a smarter and better pass protector than even Ashton Genty. So, hey, man, I'm bringing all of that up to basically say that, man, Bill is very important, and I hope he's healthy because, if anything, he's only going to become more and more involved in the offense, so Cliff Kingsbury learns to trust him a little bit more. And then, of course, looking at the rest of the injury report, I mean, you have John Bates and Noah Brown, of course, missing practice once again. And shouts out to Brandon. He pointed out the fact that at Jayden Daniels MVP, it's so unfortunate that Noah Brown is plagued by injuries. This team might have to consider looking for another wide receiver, especially given the uncertainty surrounding Terry McLaurin's quad injury. I completely agree. We could potentially be without our two, I guess you could say top two receivers, with outside receivers, at least with Terry and Noah Brown. But like Noah Brown at this point, man, I just assume he's not going to be there. And if he is there, great. That's a bonus. But I don't think it's a requirement. It's not an expectation at all. He was dealing with a knee injury all off season, and then he ends up gaining a groin injury against the Packers. So that's something to watch. And then John Bates is, of course, the best blocking tight end in the NFL. So I really hope he's able to go against the Falcons. But don't rush him back too bad, because Cliff Kingsbury did a great job of adjusting his offense around the fact that they didn't have John Bates, so Ben Sinnott had to block more. Do you know that Ben Sinnott actually played more snaps than Zach Ertz against the Raiders? But the way that they utilized Ben Sinnott different from John Bates is more of an inline tight end. He's an extension of the defensive line. You can literally line them up as a third tackle next to the right tackle or the left tackle. Ben Sinnott, you can't do that. But what they did, blocking wise for him, is they allowed him to move in motion so that by the time he's blocking somebody, he already has a full head of steam. So he's not as strong as John Bates, but they basically converted Ben Sinnott's speed into power and allowed him to block people well by having him have like a running head start before he blocked anybody. So shouts out to Cliff Kingsbury for getting creative there. Instead of just having a tight end that he's used to having, you know, somewhat of like a crutch where we could just have this tight end basically be a third tackle on the field. Ben Sinnott can't do that, but they found ways to get him involved, not only, you know, just in general, but specifically as a blocker, and I love that. Percy Butler, of course, dealing with a hip injury, hasn't participated all week yet. I mean, that could potentially hurt us, especially with Will Harris out. Maybe Percy Butler was, you know, assumed to take on a larger role because of the Will Harris injury, but we'll see how quickly Darnell Savage can get acclimated to the defense. But Percy Butler is more of a special teamer anyway. Of course, Terry McLaurin quad injury, we still got to see about that. We already talked about that. Jayden Daniels already talked about that. Hey man, Trey Amos and Colson Yankoff are great news, especially Trey Amos, because he's already a top 10 corner in the NFL through 3 weeks of football. Not only the best corner on the Washington Commanders, like that's obvious, but in the NFL, he's playing like a top 10 corner. I gotta find the time to show y'all a video of all of the interesting stats that came after that Raiders game, because Trey Amos, being one of the best corners in the NFL, was one of the most notable ones there. Dorrance Armstrong already is one of the best pass rushers in the NFL. Trey Amos is one of the best corners, bro. If the rest of our defense figures it out, if Mike Samuel and Quan Martin finally play how we expected them to play, this defense could get really scary. But again, the fact that he was limited on Wednesday, now he's a full participant on Thursday, has me so excited and optimistic about how our defense can potentially play against that Falcons offense that somehow played terribly against a bad Carolina defense. I wonder how they're going to play against a better Commanders defense. And the Colson Yankoff, I don't remember if he played or not against the Raiders, but at least we have him as an option with him fully participating in both practices so far with an ankle injury. And then the Falcons, I mean, their situation is ugly. Outside of Josh Woods, who missed practice for personal reasons, not injury related, man, it's looking ugly for their did not participate. Running back Nate Carter, of course, he's not like a starter or anything. He's not even Tyler Algier, so, you know, that's not something that's like a big loss for the Falcons, but of course you prefer to be 100% healthy if possible. But wide receiver Kadero Hodge, that's another one that's not necessarily one of their biggest playmakers. But cornerback AJ Terrell is arguably the best player on their entire team, like arguably. And, you know, again, maybe you can accuse me of being biased because that's a Westlake alum. You know, shouts out to my dog AJ Terrell. You chose wrong going to Clemson instead of Georgia, but that's cool though. Still, I'm rooting for you, my boy. And then you also ended up on the Falcons, so, you know, I gotta, you know, I can't root for you but too much because that's the worst team in the NFL. Sorry, Falcons and all of that. But either way, hamstring injury. Remember, he had Terry McLaurin in a coffin last time we played the Falcons late last year to basically secure our playoff spot when we, with the overtime win over them. And I feel like the Falcons are worse than they were back then. I feel like we are better than we were back then. So I'm already optimistic, even if AJ Terrell could have played. But now, granted, Terry McLaurin's more than likely not playing. It looks like AJ Terrell may not play, and even if he does, he's going to be hobbled. And I think that's a huge loss for the Falcons, bro. I think no matter who you go out there with wide receiver, you can end up easily putting up points and moving the ball against the Falcons without AJ Terrell, bro. He's arguably the best player on either side of the ball for those guys, man. So them not having him could really hurt. But the big thing is that you don't even see this on injury report because they're both, like, I'm assuming, on IR. But the Falcons starting right tackle and their second string right tackle are all hurt and out. That is their biggest problem this season. That's why they don't even attempt deep shots with Michael Penix, who, if anything, coming out of the draft, his best trait was the ability to throw deep shots. First of all, his mechanics all messed up this season. I don't know what's going on there. But even beyond that, their third string right tackle is a turnstile. He is food. And Dorrance Armstrong already has a sack every game this season. If there's any game this year that he can go for 2, is this game here. So their offensive line is already banged up, and that's something that you don't even see on the injury report. This offensive line is food similar to how the Raiders offensive line was. And then you even have wide receiver Jamal Agnew, linebacker or edge rusher, I consider him, James Pierce, safety DeMarco Helms, tight end Kyle Pitts, and even Casey Washington. You know, they were originally limited. A couple of those guys are still limited, but now they practice in full. We'll see how that goes. But again, them not having AJ Terrell could be a huge loss. Now, moving on. Man, the Washington Commanders have another Rookie of the Week winner in Washington, bro. It is amazing, man. Shouts out to Jayden Daniels. He was named NFL Pepsi's Rookie of the Week for Week 3. He had a 90-yard punt return for a touchdown in their win over the Raiders. And basically, the Commanders, this is our award, bro, because remember, Jayden Daniels won it last season so many times that he broke an NFL record. It was the Jayden Daniels Award last year. And then so far through 3 weeks of football, we won it week 1 with Bill and then week 3 with Jayden Daniels. So right now, over the last, say, 19 weeks, the Commanders have been dominating, even so far in the 2025 season. And Jayden Daniels is not eligible because he's not a rookie anymore. We still have, the Commanders have won 2 out of the 3 Rookie of the Week awards. Out of the entire NFL, there are 32 NFL teams. The Commanders have 2 of the 3, bro. So it's a mix of Adam Peters drafting his tail off, and also the Commanders flexing their voting power, bro. Because I mean, maybe there's this somebody out there with some type of bot. You know what I'm saying? Like if you were ever in them Discord sneakers Supreme hunting days with the bots where they automatically did stuff for you. You know what I'm saying? If you was in those type of trenches with the good groups and stuff like that, you know what I'm saying? That somebody's potentially out there using a bot to help us win these, or maybe they just actually deserve it. I mean, Jayden Daniels' punt return was insane. I think he's going to break a couple of more off this season, maybe even against the Falcons, because their special teams isn't too good. And I think, I mean, if he learns how to catch the ball, he's going to be insane, bro. So a 4th round pick already doing stuff like this, your 7th round pick in Bill, you already see what you have in him. This draft class could end up actually being really insane, especially with Josh Connolly already improving. And now he has a slate ahead of him where, I mean, he just went against some of the premier edge rushers in the entire NFL. After the Raiders game with Max Crosby, of course, before that was Micah Parsons, and before that it was Brian Burns, Abdul Carter, and Kayvon Thibodeau. After that, there's no real notable edge rusher like dominant one, really, until we play Aiden Hutchinson against the Lions. There's some good defensive lines, but there's no just particular dominant premier individual edge rusher that Josh Connolly will have to face again until November 9th right now, just to let y'all know, because even the Chargers, Khalil Mack is out long enough to where he's not going to play against us next week. And even if he was, he's up there in age. So Josh Connolly, he's only going to get better from now, because I mean he was improving against edge rushers that give even Pro Bowl tackles fits, let alone a rookie right tackle, let alone a rookie tackle that's switching from being a career left tackle to right tackle. Josh Connolly, the ceiling is infinite, bro. He's a constant and perennial Pro Bowl right tackle. That's his future, bro. I'm super excited and optimistic about him. And of course, I mean, what do we have to say about Trey Amos? That he's already the top 10 corner in the NFL, arguably top 7 when you're looking at his stats. Now let's take a dive into some of the coach quotes that came from yesterday's practice as well. Joey Jr. said a lot of interesting things. First of all, he said that Deron Payne graded out the highest among the defenders against the Raiders. Believe he said the grade was the highest for any defender this season. And yes, those are all great points. But my main thing was, y'all pay attention to that type of stuff? I know that we're an analytics-based team, but I'm surprised they actually, look at Pro Football Focus. Or maybe he's referring to his own grades. I don't know. Hopefully they use their own grading system or something like that. I just thought that was interesting that they even noticed that. The film is one thing, but we also take a look at grades as well. Also, shouts out to Cliff Kingsbury. He talked about this whole Chris Paul, Andrew Wiley, Brandon Coleman, Nick Allegretti situation. He said that Chris Paul, Andrew Wiley played well. Paul has elevated his level of play since last year. So, of course, now I'm wondering, this is one of our biggest questions going into this Falcons game. Is Chris Paul going to start over Brandon Coleman again? Mind you, Brandon Coleman went from starter first 2 weeks at left guard, starter all season as long as he was healthy, to suddenly inactive versus the Raiders. Not backup, inactive, unable to play. And so Cliff Kingsbury said that Brandon Coleman's health has been an issue, even though Dan Quinn played off the shoulder injury and acted like it wasn't. But Cliff Kingsbury said, quote, he's had nagging injuries that kept him from practicing, and he hasn't played a lot inside, even though I don't remember really seeing that coming up in the injury reports, but it is what it is. Just being consistent in your practice habits and being healthy and out there, that's something that he has to keep working to get, unquote. So basically, I'm hearing that Brandon Coleman isn't doing enough. it sounds like this is like a work ethic problem. You know, they're trying to blame it on some sort of injury, but Cliff Kingsbury said practice habits and, you know, something he's got to work on, being consistent. Like, I mean, that sounds like work ethic. That sounds like Chris Paul wanted it more and Brandon Coleman didn't. And basically Chris Paul stole his spot from work ethic, which is interesting. And I feel like the main difference between Chris Paul and Brandon Coleman, Chris Paul, I mean, you had to worry about the pass protection, but he showed against the Raiders that he's even improved in that way. So that's where he's like unstoppable. He can run block. We already knew that. He was one of the best run blocking offensive linemen we had on our team, but he was just such a liability in pass protection that you couldn't really play him. Now he's good at both, but the difference is Brandon Coleman can get to that second level to block linebackers and DBs. Chris Paul cannot. He's not athletic at all. His relative athletic score showed that he was. When you actually watch him trying to get to the next level, it looks bad. So Brandon Coleman offers you a higher ceiling, but Chris Paul right now is the safer player. I'm wondering to see who's going to end up starting against the Raiders, because that's going to be very telling. Also, Cliff Kingsbury said that the offense got back to the basics last week against the Raiders. Dan Quinn preached physicality in the days before the game, and the players responded to it, and him getting knocked down probably only helped with that. Cliff Kingsbury said last week, we didn't play on our heels like we did in Green Bay, and that's more indicative that what we like to see week in and week out from our offense. I don't know why. I don't know why when you win against the Packers, you changed up completely your whole team identity, your game plan, and how you typically play. I don't know why we avoided running the ball, but it is what it is. Also, moving on, shouts out to Tom Schaff for pointing out the fact that one tidbit from this story about Jeremy Reeves talking about how he made his name on special teams, stuff like that. That's the whole Jeremy Reeves story. He pointed out the fact that Reeves said that he was gutting it out last year coming off of his 2023 ACL tear. So basically, he wasn't fully himself in 2024. That entire season, even though he was still great in special teams, he said, quote, I was probably playing at 60% truthfully, unquote. So that's why you're seeing a different level of Jeremy Reeves this year, even compared to last year where he was still pretty good. But now you're seeing like a different monster. And I feel like him being a full year removed from his ACL tear, he's even saying that that's making a big difference, which should just warn you about guys that even when they come back from injuries and they're playing, they may not still be 100% themselves, bro. And so feeling healthier and faster in 2025 is basically allowing him to play how he does right now. And then I liked how even after yesterday's practice, he spoke to the media. He made it clear, I didn't come into the league as a special teamer. I came as a safety. I can do both. I love the fact that he's declaring that. And I'm pretty sure he's probably even saying that in team meetings and to the coaches. He was saying this to the media in the locker room, but he's saying like, yeah, I don't know why people are surprised that I'm good at safety, because I am a safety. I just also so happen to be great at special teams and all pro special teams, you know, special teams ace gunner and stuff like that. But I can play some safety too, man. You know what I'm saying? I was pretty good when I first got in. And then also shouts out to Joe Wood Jr. He said that Jeremy Reeves will get more time on defense with Will Harris out. So this is your opportunity. He said others like Tyler Owens may get bigger workloads as well, but with Reeves, the challenge is finding a way to take him away from special teams since he's their ace. So it's not a problem of they don't want to play him more in defense because they're worried about his defensive capability, his coverage ability and stuff like that. It's more so, man, you're so valuable to us on special teams, we're scared to take you away from that. Also, Nick Javala pointed out the fact that when the Commanders were missing 3 starters in the secondary, plus reserve Percy Butler because of injuries late against the Raiders, Joe Wood Jr. said that they only used about 3 calls to simplify things on the back end. So shouts out to Joe Wood Jr. and those guys for having some sort of like a backup plan to where if there are a lot of injuries to our secondary suddenly, and we're not expecting it, we have like a certain play package to where we're going to keep it real simple, just execute these simple things well, and we should be just fine. We should be able to walk away from this game with a win. Also, Joe Wood Jr. talking about creating turnovers. He said, we were getting close to getting the ball out, but just close doesn't cut it. And I agree, man. No excuses. No close doesn't cut it. If it's not a turnover, it's not a turnover. Trey Amo should have had one, but it still doesn't count. Joe Wood Jr. also said that the Commanders had 26 turnbacks last week. So even though we're not forcing turnovers, we're one of the best teams at forcing turnbacks. And just to let you know, that is when a player is tackled behind a line of scrimmage or is forced to turn his back to his team's end zone. That is a lot of those, bro. That means like we're stuffing stuff. You know what I'm saying? And we're the best third down defense in the NFL right now as well. So again, we're not creating turnovers, but we're doing the best bend but don't break job in the entire NFL right now. Also, Joe Wood Jr. said that players just have to do their job in coverage, and it feels more like about execution so far than scheme. So basically, he's blaming the players, which again is always a weird move from a coach to me. But he's saying like it ain't the scheme. These guys just got to do what they're supposed to do. Also, Joey Jr. lauded Will Harris's toughness and noting that he kept playing on his injured ankle that ultimately led to him landing on IR before having to exit. Just to let you know, if you go back to that game when Will Harris initially got injured, he came back into the game, and just to find out that days later he ended up on the injured reserve, or that night or the next morning or whatever, he ended up on the injured reserve. So he was playing on an injury that required him to go on the injured reserve. He was just out there playing on it. So Will Harris, don't ever doubt his toughness, Commanders fans. Please don't. And I just hope he gets well soon and comes back as soon as possible. Also, Joey Jr. talking about Javon Kinlaw. He said, quote, "I begged for the young man last year when he went to the Jets. I chuckle when people say negative things about him. He is exactly what we needed. A penetrative, disruptive man." And I tried to warn y'all about Javon Kinlaw as well, bro. I told y'all that man's talented. He just needs the right scheme. Also, just to let you know, of course, Dorrance Armstrong is leading all NFL linemen in total pressures and pressure rate through 3 weeks right now. That is insane stuff. And so, of course, that validates the Commanders' offseason belief that a breakout was coming. And there's a quote that this is development. This is not development. This is evolution from Dorrance Armstrong. And so Joey Jr. talking about Dorrance Armstrong's strong start, shouts out to Ben Standig, quote, "We saw this coming because of the way he worked this offseason. I anticipate this going on. He's a complete player now." Unquote from Joey Jr. So basically, if anything, expect Dorrance Armstrong to continue this dominant run that he's on right now, looking like one of the best pass rushers in the NFL. And again, as previously just mentioned, he's leading the NFL in pressures and pressure rate, bro. That is scary stuff, man. Once he's able to turn those into sacks more often, that's going to be deadly. And then lastly, before we get up out of here, completely unrelated but still Commanders news, just, you know, kind of some Rico report type of stuff. Looks like Adam Peters and Bob Myers will be helping UCLA out on the side while they can, because UCLA announced its football coaching search committee headed by Martin Germain, and that includes Casey Wasserman, Aaron Atkins, Eric Kendricks. That's an interesting group of guys, but also the Commanders' own Bob Myers, and especially our general manager, Adam Peters, as well. They're going to be helping with the coaching search. I'm kind of looking like, hey, man, we got a season to worry about. So I need every living second you got, you know, working on watching film, scouting for potential trades or guys, free agents, or even practice squad guys from other teams that we can look at. But hey, man, if you just happen to have any extra time, I guess you can you can console UCLA just a little bit on their coaching search. But hey, man, we need you focused on these Commanders right now, my boy. Yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know if about everything discussed video. Please still follow that like button, still follow the subscription button, still follow the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Really appreciate y'all for supporting the videos. If you're still watching this video right now, and you can still hear me and see me, appreciate you and salute you personally, man, for real. Shouts out to my Watch to the End gang, man. That's WTTG in the building. We gotta start getting shirts out for that. And shouts out to the late night crew. This, even though I'm releasing this at 10:15 a.m., I know there's a few of y'all out there that's gonna be watching this like 14 hours from now. Late night crew in the building. So shouts out to all of y'all, man. And of course, let me know in the comment section how you feel about everything discussed in this video, man. The Terry McLaurin injury, the Jayden Daniels injury. Do you think he'll end up playing against the Falcons? Do you think Terry is going to be back as soon as the Chargers game next week? Let me know how you feel about this whole Chris Paul over Brandon Coleman thing. How do you feel about Bill's injury situation, the way that it's looking from the practice reports versus how it's being reported from all of the Commanders reporters like Nikki Javala and John Com, or even a national reporter like Jeremy Fowler? Let me know how you feel about the coaching points that Joey Jr. and Cliff Kingsbury brought up as well. Let me know if you agree or disagree with any of my points. Leave a like on the way out. I appreciate y'all. I'm going to catch y'all with another video this evening. I'm out.